Hey, hey, welcome to another episode of Dear Diary, the self-love podcast, where I share with you all of the struggles and the celebrations and the trials and tribulations of this self-love and growth and healing journey as I learn to use my voice and share it in a way that inspires you as I navigate my shit. Today, I want to talk to you about fear. It's something that we all have, so just go ahead and raise your hand now wherever you are, unless you're driving, if you've ever experienced fear. And more importantly, if you've ever experienced a level of fear that has held you back from truly being who you want to be or becoming who you want to become. Something that I find really important I want to bring up today, that I find to be very, very important, is that when push comes to shove and you zoom out of every single situation that you have been faced with, it literally all comes down to fear. Right? Anytime you've faced an obstacle or a barrier, or you've gotten in your way, or something is not going right in your life, if you really look at the core of it, there's fear involved. It can be fear of anything: rejection, judgment, success, you name it. But it comes down to fear every single time. So this is going to be a big topic today, and I think it's going to just be like part one of a series, because I'm really facing my fears head on. I have been for the last couple of years, and specifically really facing fear head on in the last couple of weeks as I navigate this really difficult situation that I'm going through in my life right now. And I will share more on that to come. But right now, I want to share my experience with you. And so it looks a little something like this. Fear has been holding me back from taking action and achieving my dreams, right? I think we can all say a little bit of that. And so I've been really working on this perspective shift about fear, and really embedding it into the depths of my soul and into my being on a cellular level, that I'm going to make friends with fear. And I'm not going to look at it as a big fucking scary brick wall. Instead, I'm choosing to look at it as just a cloud. Maybe sometimes it's a lighter cloud. Maybe sometimes it's just a light fog. Maybe sometimes it's a really dense, thick fog. But either way, I can still walk through it, right? There's nothing that's stopping me. Is it fun to walk through? Is it a little unclear and a little foggy? Yeah, sure, but it's not going to smack me in the face like a brick wall would, right? So it's how do you become friends with fear? Well, the thing that you're afraid of, it doesn't have to equal your death, right? The reason why we have fear in the first place was to keep us safe from danger and predators, right? We have fear naturally embedded in our bodies. But somehow, somewhere, some way down the line, it shifted into fear of stepping into our greatness, doing the things that we love, leaving hard relationships, stepping away from toxic jobs and relationships. Why are we letting fear get in the way of us living a better life and not taking the steps to have that? That's not what fear is for. We fucked this all up, right? Are you feeling me right now when I say this? That's not why we have fear. We have fear to keep us safe, not keep us stagnant and keep us in the same place, repeating the same things over and over and over again, and allowing fear and the ego and your mind to run the show. That doesn't serve you, right? So I've really just I've embarked on this whole conquering fear, making it my best friend, and realizing that the fear is the one thing that's keeping me from change. It's keeping me from growing. It's keeping you from evolving, from doing all the things that you want to do in life, right? Like, what is fear holding you back from right now? I guarantee you could rattle off a whole list of things that you're a little afraid of, and so you haven't taken action towards whatever these things are that you want to do. Am I right? So this is where I get to the point of being able to stop silencing my soul's desires because of fear, right? Stop thinking of everything that could go wrong and start thinking about everything that could go right? Like, how quick are we to be faced with a situation? Maybe it's something that you want to do, or a step you want to take, or a way in which you want to put yourself out there, or do something that's a little scary, right? And then fear gets in the way, and then your mind gets in the way, and your ego gets in the way, and it's this whole vicious cycle over and over and over again. All of the limiting beliefs, right? Like, it's literally like, oh my God, this again? But instead of thinking of like, oh, well, I'm going to fail, someone's going to judge me, it's not going to work out, I'm not worthy of that, I'll never make the change, I waited too long, I'm too old, I'm too young, insert whatever it is for you, right? Because I mean, the list is long, the list is so long, but insert whatever this fear is for you. And what if you stopped thinking of all of the ways in which it could go wrong and started thinking about the ways in which it could go right? Like, why don't we do that? And maybe we do, right? Maybe I'm like overgeneralizing here. Maybe you're like, no, I always look at things as like the glass is half full, right? I'm always thinking positively. Okay, and I'm sure there's a situation in your life where you're not. So what if we were to stop thinking about all of the things that could go wrong and started really feeling into all of the things that could go right? I sat down the other day after I listened to this podcast, and I was like, oh, it just, she spoke about this. Why are we always thinking about things that can go wrong? And like, when did that shift? When did that happen? We weren't born this way. So I sat and I wrote a list for probably like an hour. And it was like I forced myself to really list out all of the things that could happen if I take this necessary step. And what would the outcome be? If it all worked out. If everything worked out exactly the way I wanted to. And then you know what started to happen? Yeah, at first, like, the doubt was like, oh no, well, that probably wouldn't happen. Okay, well, let's just say what if, right? Let's just say what if. And then you know what happened? I started to like, oh, well, you know what? What if it was better than this? Like, there's no cap to the amount of potential and possibility that can happen from you making change. Change is really fucking scary, but there is no cap at the amount of change and potential and possibility that could happen from making a really scary, hard decision and then everything beautiful that can follow afterwards, right? Who's to say that it's all got to go to shit? What if it works out perfectly? What if the thing that you have been fearing for so long and it's been just getting in your way over and over and over again, what if you could step into your power, make an empowered decision and choose to step into fear, because it's not a brick wall, it's just a cloud, what would happen? Seriously, go get out a piece of paper or a journal, and after you're done listening to this podcast episode, go journal about all of the things that could happen if you chose to say fuck you to fear. Because here's the thing, and I think this is important to note too. I think one of the biggest contributing factors to fear is inaction, right? Like sitting around and like overthinking your way out of the thing that you're fearful of, right? Allowing the mind and the ego to just like fuel into that as you don't take action on this thing that you want to do. It's literally thinking yourself out of a decision that you want to make, that your soul wants to make, right? Especially if it's one of those things that fear is getting in the way of, where it's like you keep coming back and you keep revisiting it. Like your desire is not just going to go away because your fear said you can't do this thing, right? It's not like, oh, hey, I want to start a podcast because I feel like it would be a really good opportunity for me to inspire those who follow me and get to use my voice and process things and just like put myself out there. But it's really fucking scary, and I could be judged, and I could sound ridiculous and not make any sense, and it could be a complete flop. And then I'll just get frustrated, and then everything will go to shit, and then I'll give up on my business, and then I'll give up on myself, and then I'll be proving all the people that said I couldn't do it right? Like, look at all the what ifs on the negative scale. And so I could have just, like, kind of stopped there and stalled. But instead, I got the idea for the podcast. I immediately looked up how to start it, what I needed to do, and then I just fucking did it. Like, done, right? But if I were to allow that inaction and that time spent just brewing and stewing in the fear, I would have never fucking started it. So think about something in your life. Maybe you can think about multiple things in your life. Like, what is holding you back right now? What is fear getting in the way of? And what would happen if you did the thing anyway and it all worked out? Strengthen that power muscle by choosing your truth and by choosing you and by making empowered decisions and not decisions based in fear. And here's the thing too, when you are doing the scary things, sometimes it can look like, okay, you take the first step and then you're like, oh, you retract and you're like, oh, never mind, I can still go back, right? No, you have to keep choosing you. You have to keep choosing your alignment. You have to keep choosing what soul desires over and over and over again. And in that process, it doesn't mean that the fear is going to go away, right? Like, I'm still, when I hit record, I'm like, okay, I hope I can show up and do this. And I'm really not that great at editing. So I really hope I can just like allow my words to flow and like not fuck shit up or stumble or say 1,000 times or, you know, have a really loud motorcycle drive by me and like you can't hear my sound or just like whatever, you know. I hope I don't fumble my words. It still happens, but I push through because it's just a cloud. It's not a brick wall. It doesn't need to stop me. Are you picking up what I'm putting down here? How to conquer your fear. This is how you fucking do it. You just do it. Become friends with the fear. It's not going anywhere. Become friends with it. What is fear? What is this fear feel like in your body? Maybe it's a tightening in your chest or just this like, in the pit of your stomach. Does it feel like a heavy weight on your shoulders? What does this feel like? what if you could, from that place, whatever it feels like in your body, maybe it feels like your heart is just going to beat out of your chest. What if you could make friends with that feeling in your body too, and shift it to, what would it feel like in my body if I felt the fear, but I did it anyway? What would the other side of that feel like? How fucking empowered would you feel that you were really scared shitless to make this decision or do this thing or step out of your comfort zone, but you did it anyway and then it worked out? How fucking badass would that feel? What would that feel like in your body? That's what you want to lean into. That's what you want to embody as you walk through that cloud. What if it all fucking works out? Stop thinking of everything that could go wrong and think about everything that could go right. So you can change and grow and evolve and make magic happen. Because that desire for whatever it is, it's not gonna go away. If it hasn't gone away yet, chances are it's not going to. It's just going to keep nagging and gnawing at you, making you repeat these stories and feeling these limiting beliefs and allowing fear to take control. So, what if you were to make that little perspective shift and become friends with fear? Because it's just trying to keep you safe. But the thing that you want to do, you don't have to be afraid of. You're not going to die from it. You're not going to die from leaving that relationship, quitting that job, starting that business, saying no to that friend, saying yes to the vacation. You're not going to die from that. Fear is to keep you safe. Fear is not to keep you from your dreams. So, I hope that made sense. I hope you journal about this later. I hope you subscribe to this podcast. I hope you leave a review. I hope you share, screenshot this episode, share it in your stories and tag me. Reach out to me if you've gotten anything from this or any of the other episodes. The more that you guys love and share and support this, the more it inspires me to show up, the more it allows me to step into my power and tell my fear to shut the fuck up. I love you. I appreciate you. I thank you for listening. And I hope that you can take just one small step towards conquering your fear. And if it has to start with making this list and thinking of everything that could go right, let it start there. And when you write that list, feel that list. And then take action. I'll see you soon.